Columbus heading in tonight. This is great. John Tortorella on his players going out in Vegas. They've been there for 3 days, by the way. I want them to go out. I think playing guilty is a big part of being really good in the National Hockey League. Best home record in the NHL, so clearly some players are playing a little guilty in Las Vegas, and we welcome in their insider for the Vegas Golden Knights, Gary Lawless, who joins us now. Gary, it's been a great run. Everyone's been waiting for the bubble to burst. It's not going to happen, apparently. That being the case, we got to dig a little deeper here. James Neal, a pending UFA, what's going to happen? Where are they as far as talks and possibly re-signing or moving this talented forward?
Well, I have no idea where they are in talks. I will say this, George McPhee has said from the very beginning that he wants this team to be competitive, and James is obviously a huge piece of this. Look, we're 4.5 weeks away, I think, from the trade deadline. I think any discussions at this point in time are a little premature. But if you get to the deadline and you are in a position where you're one of the better teams in the National Hockey League, I don't think you break up your team. I think you look to augment it, if anything, and those are George McPhee's decisions, obviously. But James Neal, just a real proven goal scorer, and he's done a lot of that. He's scored 21. A lot of it has been at even strength. I think he has 4 or 5 game-winning goals. He's a big piece here. So me personally, I can't imagine him not being part of anything that happens after the trade deadline. But you never know what happens when those GMs get on the phone and guys start talking about moving people around.
Well, it makes sense. You offered the idea of maybe augmenting this lineup. If that's the case, what's the wish list in terms of what does this team need? Because they've been great everywhere. Yeah,
well, they're one of the best 5-on-5 scoring teams in the National Hockey League. So, and they have depth. They're getting offense from all 3 lines. For me personally, I'd love it if they had a big winger that could score a little deeper down in their lineup. You don't want to mess with Carlson and his wingers, Marchessault and Smith, and then obviously Neal, Haula, and David Perron have been really effective. That's a real nice top 6. So I think you'd look for a little scoring deeper in the lineup. The power play is 23rd, I think, in the National Hockey League. They do not have that traditional power play quarterback back on the blue line. So, the same wish list as every other team in the NHL, David. A power forward who can score and a guy who can run the power play. It's those guys are hard. Get in line. They're hard to find.
Really quickly, Gary, just philosophically, do you think there's a scenario where George McPhee makes a massive free agent splash, or I should say trade deadline splash, because this team could make a legitimate run in April, May, and June?
Well, the only way to do that, David, I think, is to there's a couple ways to do it. Trade from your current roster, and why would you want to do that? Why would you want to break up this roster? And then the other way to do it is to use draft picks and prospects. This is the first year of this organization. The depth that you need, George McPhee isn't interested in 1 year. He's interested in 10 years of being a contender. You need depth in your organization. So I don't see him moving picks. I don't see him moving prospects. So me personally, that big splash, I don't see it.
It would be tempting, though. That would be the greatest sports story of our generation if somehow this expansion even could win the cup. But I understand what you're saying.
Absolutely. But it would only be one chapter. And I think George wants to write that big book and have Vegas entrenched and be a great franchise for a long time.
Enjoy the ride, Gary Lawless. Thanks so much for joining us here.
Thanks, David.